everybody, it's Holly here today for Your Next Stamp, and I'm going to be creating this card using the newly released Once in a Chameleon stamp set. This is part of the April release. I am starting out with a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm just using several shades of green Distress ink and the ink blending tools, and I'm just using that randomly over the cardstock, and I'm just putting it down a layer just to create a kind of a pattern that shows all the different colors. You can use any colors of Distress ink you want. I just decided to use about 4 different green shades. So you just put them down over the Distress ink. Once you have your one layer of ink, then you go back over again with a second layer to kind of blend everything in together to make sure there's a smooth blend between the colors. And then I'm going to go ahead and spritz the background with a little bit of water using the Distress sprayer. And then I'm going to pick that up with a clean paper towel. You just leave it set for just a few seconds, and then you just put your paper towel down, or you could just go ahead and directly heat set it, and that will make the distress effect as well without having to use the paper towel. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat set the paper just to make sure everything's nice and dry using my heat tool, and I like to make sure I hit the back of the cardstock as well. That also helps it from warping, so you have a nice flat piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to also be using the Crazy Shapes panel die. This is being released today as well as part of the April release. And I'm just going to run that through my Big Shot. Now, what I should have done here is use the plastic saran wrap, the press and seal. I should have put that down before I ran it through the Big Shot, but I didn't think of it until after. So what I did is I went ahead and put my pieces back in. And then I got a piece of that press and seal and laid it over the top and rubbed it in so that I could flip it over backwards. All those little shapes would still be adhered to that press and seal. It was kind of an afterthought. I knew I should have used it and I didn't think of it. So I went ahead and pressed that down to make sure my little pieces were in place so I didn't lose anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip the panel over and set that aside. And then I'm going to die cut a second panel from some white cardstock using the same Crazy Shapes panel die. And then I'm going to adhere some foam tape to the back of that panel. I'm going to create a top folding A2 size standard card base from the same white cardstock. And then before I adhere the foam tape to that Crazy Shapes panel die, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment on it. So I'm going to use my Mini Misty. And I'm going to use a little splatter image in the stamp set, and I'm going to use some Garden Green ink from Your Next Stamp. I'm going to stamp the splatter down. This is a new stamp, so what I did is I like to condition it first. So I used a little bit of the stamp cleaner on it, and then I wiped it off really good, and you get pretty much one good impression. I want it to be a nice bright green, so I stamped it twice. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment, which says Peace Dude, in the Stampin' Up! Black Olive ink, and I'm just going to stamp that directly over it. Then I'm using the grid sheet, acetate grid sheet, to make sure my stamp is lined up correctly. Nothing's off wonky or anything. So then once I have the sentiment on there, I'm going to go ahead and add the foam tape. And I'm just going to use my big roll of foam tape, and I'm just going to cut the foam tape down into thin strips. Since there's lots of little openings, I'm just going to cut it and then fit it in between the shapes the best that I can. So then I'm going to remove the paper backing, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to that card front I made. And then I'm going to take some Ranger Multimedia Matte, and I'm going to squirt a little bit of that inside each little shape there. You could also put adhesive directly on the back of your shapes, but I'm just putting it inside each shape. And then I'm going to use my tweezers, and I'm basically going to play Operation. I'm going to try to place those shapes into those little openings, but they're going to be recessed and set back down in, so there'll be some height between the layers. And then once I have those all in place, you're going to look like this, and you actually have an extra panel to use for another project. You can use that negative die cut piece for another project. Then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my little chameleon, and I'm using some Express It blending cardstock, and I'm stamping it in the Your Next Stamp Black Olive ink, which is Copic friendly. And then I'm going to use my color hex chart for the Copics, and I'm just going to kind of find Copic markers that match that background piece. So I find 4 shades that are the best that match, and then I'm just going to go ahead and color my Chameleon in with those markers. I'm not doing anything special here. I'm just doing basic Copic coloring, so I'm just laying down the lighter color first and blending them in, but I wanted my Chameleon to have some of the same shades as my background did. So I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring him, and I'll just play some music, and then I'll be back. This is a coordinating die set for this stamp set, but I'm just going to go ahead and fussy cut it out with my scissors, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some black memento marker around the edges just to clean it up a little bit. And then once I've got them all ready to go, I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of the image using that same foam adhesive, and then I'm just going to put that down onto the card front. And you could also reverse this panel die. You could flip it around so that the larger part is on the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some clear Wink of Stella just to cover up the Chameleon and add a little bit of sparkle to him. And then I'm also using the brand new Gumdrops that we had in this release called Enchanted Forest. They are a nice solid jewel tone, and I'm going to use the olive color ones to kind of blend in with my background. And that pretty much completes my card today. So be sure to join us for our blog hop. Just hop along with us for a chance to win. So head over to the Your Next Stamp blog for all the details. And all the products are also available in the store now. So we hope you enjoy this release. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.